Okay, so I'm Tracy. I'm going to explain about the first two part of this lab 2. So the first part is the first time when you run the Raspberry, you will see a welcome wizard, and it is actually just some setting, also known as configurations. So this is just the welcome wizard. So we just press next. Then we just set our country. Then we will prefer to use English and US keyboard, and next. This is just to change the default password. So if we just skip this step, then set up the screen. So the desktop should fill the entire screen. So just next, then search for the Wi-Fi. So basically we have to connect if we want to connect it, so just skip. So update to check for the software. So don't have connection, so just done. So part 2 is just to navigate the desktop. So here, so basically this one is the wallpaper. Then here is the taskbar where where we click any activity, everything will come here, which is appear here like terminal, then come out terminal here. So here over the right hand side of the desktop is the system tray, where actually here will be the media eject, where any removable storage such as USB will appear here that connected to the Pi. Then here is the Bluetooth icon. Then the next one is the network icon. So if it's connected to any network, here will be show the name of the network. Then this one is the output, where we can control the volume here. Then over here is the cloud. So here is the digital calendar. So here the left hand side here, the Raspberry Pi logo will be the categories of the program. So like the program categories will be like all this, then software designed to help us to write our own program. Then like games will be all the games. Then internet, office will be like we normally use Microsoft Office. So here is like they have their own office. So internet use here. So yeah, that's all from me.
For part 3, we explore on Google Chromium. Okay, this is the page of raspberrypi.org. Then for part 4, we explore on file manager. We try to copy the file from Wadaa pen drive into Raspberry Pi folder, which is in home desktop file manager.
To view the library office on the Raspberry Pi, first, we need to go to the Raspberry Pi icon on the left hand side. Click on this and choose Office. As we can see, there are various software of LibreOffice, such as LibreOffice Base, that is for database, LibreOffice Calculation to perform calculation, and information and manage list in spreadsheet by using calculation. LibreOffice Draw is to create and edit drawing, flowchart, and logos by using Draw. LibreOffice Impress is used to create and edit presentation for slideshow, meeting, and web page by using Impress. LibreOffice Math is used to create and edit scientific formulas and equations by using Math. And lastly is a LibreOffice Writer is used to create and edit text and image in letters, report, document, and web page by using Writer. Basically, LibreOffice Writer is like a Microsoft Office that similar to it in the window. Okay, this is the example of LibreOffice. So as we can see, we can produce make or any document on this LibreOffice software. It basically is just same like Microsoft Office or Microsoft Word. For the recommended software, there are various type of software that can be found in the recommended software tools. Okay, go to the Raspberry Pi icon and search for programming. As we can see, there is a various programming software that has been installed in this Raspberry, such as BlueJ Java IDE, Genie, Greenfoot Java IDE, Mathematica is used for technical computing system, MU, which is based on Python editor for beginner, Node-RED, a low-code programming for event-driven applications, Scratch, Scratch 2, Scratch 3, SenseHash emulator, which is a GUI for controlling the emulated SenseHash 80, Sonic PI, which is a programming and computer science while creating music, Tony Python IDE, and Wolfram. As for myself, I have used a Tony Python IDE for my final year project.
For part 7, we learn about Raspberry Pi configuration tool. It is a lot like a welcome wizard we use at the start that allows us to change various settings in Raspbian. First, click on the Raspberry icon, then select the preference category, then click on Raspberry Pi configuration to load it. The tool is split into 4 tabs, each of which can control a particular aspect of Raspbian. The first tab is System. This allows you to change the password of your account, set a hostname, and change a range of other settings. Okay, next Interface tab. Here you will find a range of settings, all of which start off disabled. This setting should only be changed if you adding a new hardware, such as a Raspberry Pi camera module. The exception to this rule are SSH, which enable a secure shell and lets you log into the Raspberry Pi from another computer on your network using an SSH client. Okay, for VNC, which enable a virtual network computer and let you see and control the Raspbian desktop from another computer on your network using a VNC client. And for the remote GPIO, which let you use the Pi GPIO pin from another computer on your network. Next, for the performance tab, here you can set the amount of memory used by the Pi graphic processing unit GPU, and for the SAM model, increase the performance of the Raspberry Pi through a process known as overclocking. Okay, finally the localization tab. Here you can change your local, which control things like the language used in Raspbian and how numbers are displayed. Change the time zone, change the keyboard layout, and set your country for Wi-Fi purpose. For the last part 8, we learn about the shutting down the Raspberry Pi. To prevent operating system become corrupt and needing to be reinstalled from happening, you need to make sure your tell Raspbian to save all its files and make itself ready for being powered off, a process known as shutting down the operating system. Click on the Raspberry icon at the top left on your desktop and then click on Shutdown. A window will appear with three options: Shutdown, Reboot, and Logout. Shutdown is the option you will use most. It used to close all open software and files, then shut the Pi down. Once the display has gone black, wait a few seconds until the flashing green light on the Pi goes off. Then it is safe to turn off the power supply. To turn the Pi back on, simply disconnect, then reconnect the power cable or toggle the power at the wall socket. Okay, for the reboot, similar process to the shutdown, closing everything down, but instead of turning the Pi's power off, it restart the Pi in almost exactly the same way as shutdown, then disconnected and reconnected the power cable. You will need to use reboot if you make certain changes which require a restart of the operating system, such as installing certain updates to its core software, or if some software have gone wrong, knowing as crashing and left the recipient in an unusable state. Finally, logout is only really useful if you have more than one user account on your Raspberry Pi. It closes any program you currently have open and takes you to login screen on which you need to enter the username and the password again.